to the midnight hour.
I didn't plan to tell this story. For a long time, I convinced myself it was better left buried. Forgotten, locked away, never spoken out loud. But some memories don't stay quiet. They wait, and if you're listening to this late at night, when everything feels still and slightly unreal, then you should know something before we begin. This isn't a story about monsters, or shadows, or things that go bump in the dark. This is about a person. Someone I worked with. Someone I tried to help. Someone who slowly turned my life into something I no longer recognized. And by the time I realized what was happening, it was already too late to walk away. My name is Michael. I'm 30 years old now, and I currently work as the senior marketing head of a large food corporation. Looking at my life today, it's hard to believe how everything began to unravel. Simply because I tried to be a good Samaritan. 5 years ago, I was working at an insurance company. Back then, I was genuinely satisfied with my job. I treated my supervisors with respect, and in return, the management treated employees well. The salary was generous, and the benefits were impressive. Free meals, a free gym membership, and monthly team building activities held in different locations. That year, our team even earned an all-expenses paid trip to Hawaii after achieving the highest performance across the company. Life was good, stable, predictable. Then Bernice joined our team. She was intelligent, sharp, even and quickly proved herself to be one of the company's top performers. At first, everyone admired her, but it didn't take long for us to notice that something about her wasn't quite right. When Bernice got angry, she struggled to control herself. I remember one afternoon vividly. We were all focused on our work when, without warning, she suddenly threw her metal tumbler across the room. It hit our team leader, Sir Jake, catching everyone off guard. "All of you are pathetic," Bernice shouted. "You're the reason my head hurts." Sir Jake flinched but tried to stay composed. "What did you say?" he asked, clearly shaken by what had just happened. The impact had been hard enough to draw concern from everyone nearby. But instead of apologizing, Bernice became increasingly agitated. "My head hurts, you're all so annoying," she yelled before storming out of the office. We sat there in stunned silence. "What was that about?" Sir Jake finally asked, rubbing his arm. "Did anyone say something that upset her?" he asked again. "No, sir," I replied. "Maybe she's just stressed." Sir Jake nodded slowly. "That might be it. Our client has been demanding lately." After a moment he sighed. "Let's just apologize to her." That was Sir Jake, calm, understanding, and never quick to anger. He always tried to see the bigger picture. Not just for the team, but for the people in it. After lunch I decided to approach Bernice myself. I bought her an iced fruit soda, some cookies, and grabbed an extra stress ball from my desk. When I found her, she looked withdrawn, staring at her phone. "Hi," I said gently. "I brought you a drink and some cookies. I also got you a stress ball to help you relax." She looked up at me and smiled. "Thank you, Michael," she said, letting out a small laugh. "I'm sorry about earlier," she added. "I didn't take my meds on time. That's why I reacted like that." "Don't worry," I said. "We understand." "How are you feeling now?" I asked. "I'm okay," she replied. "I talked to Sir Jake earlier and apologized. He's kind, we're lucky to have him." I agreed. Later that day Bernice approached me again, her expression uncertain. "Michael," she said quietly, "I have something to confess." I listened as she spoke. "Sometimes, I lose control when I see a woman in white near the far end of the office, close to my station," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I frowned and glanced toward the area she mentioned without much concern. My eyes drifted across the drab beige walls and endless rows of cubicles. They stretched on forever, lifeless and silent, like a maze with no exit. There was nothing there, only stale air and the distant hum of the copier. That corner of the office was dimly lit by flickering fluorescent lights. The shadows they cast made the space feel heavier, more foreboding than usual. I will admit, it always made me uneasy whenever I passed through that area. There was a lingering sense of being watched long after I walked away. Still, I had never seen anything unusual or out of place before. No apparitions, no strange movements, nothing that defied explanation. So, a ghost, I thought, a faint smile forming despite myself. I had always been skeptical of anything paranormal or unexplained. Myrna's claims felt like the result of an overactive imagination. But when I looked into her eyes, something made me hesitate. There was a deep conviction there, a certainty that felt unsettling. "I have a third eye," Bernice said, her tone calm and matter of fact. She spoke as if she were casually discussing the weather outside. "She is not there right now," she added, without a hint of doubt. "She is inside the marketing manager's office at this moment." I did not know how to respond, my thoughts struggling to keep pace. Her words came quickly, layered with strange confidence and detail. She described presences and movements no one else ever seemed to notice. I listened and nodded when it felt appropriate, though doubt remained. I could not fully accept what she was telling me. It felt like being trapped inside a dream where logic no longer applied. As time passed, her behavior became harder to predict. Some days she spoke softly on her phone, her voice barely audible. Then she would suddenly stop and drop it as if startled. Other days she grew quiet, speaking about her parents with bitterness. She said they cared only about the money she provided them. Her mood shifted constantly, like tides pulling without warning. It left me feeling disoriented and unsure how to respond. At times she was sharp and dismissive without explanation. At others she was cheerful, shopping and dining as if nothing was wrong. She spoke often of the woman in white with reverence. Her voice softened, as though she were speaking of something sacred. I began to feel trapped in a cycle I could not escape. Myrna's fixation seemed to sit at the center of everything. Her words repeated like a mantra I could not ignore. They reminded me that something strange was quietly at work, and that whatever it was, it had already noticed us. As the days turned into weeks, the rumors about Bernice's infatuation with me only intensified. Co-workers would whisper to each other when I walked by, their eyes darting towards me with a mixture of curiosity and concern. I tried to brush it off, focusing on my work, and avoiding any interactions with Bernice that could be misinterpreted. But it was no use. She was relentless. Every morning, I'd find a new gift on my desk. At first, it was just small things like a box of donuts or a potted plant. But soon, the gifts became more extravagant. A brand new smartwatch, a luxury wallet, and even a state-of-the-art laptop. I was taken aback by her generosity, but also creeped out by the sheer scale of her spending. It was as if she was trying to buy my affection, to lure me into her web of obsession. I tried to laugh it off, to tell myself that she was just kind and caring person. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. She was watching me, studying me, and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I'd catch her staring at me during meetings, her eyes fixed on me with an unnerving intensity. It was as if she could see right through me, into the depths of my soul. One day, I was working late, trying to meet a tight deadline. As I was packing up to leave, I noticed Bernice sitting in the corner of the office, her eyes fixed on me. She was typing away on her computer. But I knew she was just pretending to work. She was waiting for me, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I quickly gathered my things and made a hasty exit. But she was always one step ahead. I'd see her at my favorite coffee shop, sipping on a latte and reading a book. I'd spot her at the gym, running on the treadmill and glancing at me with a flirtatious smile. It was as if she had a sixth sense, a radar that could detect my presence from a mile away. I knew I had to confront her, to set boundaries, and make it clear that I wasn't interested. So, one day, I decided to speak to her, choosing my words carefully like a surgeon wielding a scalpel. "Bernice," I said, keeping my voice calm and even. "I appreciate your kindness, but I need to talk to you about something. I've been feeling uncomfortable lately, and I think it's because of all the gifts and attention you've been showing me." "I know you like me," she said, her words dripping with venom, "and I know you're just playing hard to get, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep showing you how much I care, no matter what." I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized the depth of her obsession. She wasn't just infatuated with me, she was possessed by a quiet madness. It wouldn't rest until she had me in her grasp. "I'm not playing hard to get, Bernice," I said. "I'm just not interested, and even if I was, I think it's unhealthy for you. Spending so much time and money on me isn't normal, and it's making me uncomfortable." She didn't raise her voice, she didn't argue, but I saw it in her eyes. Something had shifted. I went back to my desk, hoping the conversation was over. I just wanted the day to return to normal. It didn't. Only minutes later, confusion spread across the office. Bernice was no longer at her station. Then we heard noises from another area. Drawers being pulled open, objects hitting the floor. No one moved at first. We were too stunned to react. Security arrived quickly. They intervened and escorted her out calmly. Her belongings were scattered behind her. That was the moment we all understood. Something wasn't just wrong, it was dangerous. She was taken to the company clinic, and once the office finally settled, my co-workers gathered around me. They asked what I had said to Bernice, what could have caused such a reaction. I didn't hide anything, I told them the truth. The next day, Bernice was officially terminated. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. She sent a message to our new team leader, Ms. Helga. "Be careful when you leave the office. You might want me to hurt you." After that, Ms. Helga never left the building alone. She always requested a security escort. More than once, we noticed Bernice outside, standing across the street, watching. She didn't stop there. One of my co-workers received a message that made the entire office go silent. "You think you're safe? Watch your child." The authorities were contacted immediately. Bernice wasn't held for long. We were told she had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Because of her condition, the situation was handled with caution. But by then, none of us felt safe anymore. From that point on, we did everything we could to avoid her. But I couldn't escape her completely. I told my co-workers Bernice had begun waiting outside the office when I went home. She would try to approach me, but I learned how to leave quickly. I changed routes, left at different times, but avoidance only worked sometimes, especially after she found out where I lived. A week later, I returned to my apartment complex, a modest brick building with a revolving door. It made a soft whooshing sound each time someone entered. My cousins, Ava and Leo, were staying over for a sleepover. We built a blanket fort, scattered board games, and the smell of popcorn filled the air. When we stepped into the lobby, my stomach dropped. There she was again, Bernice, standing under a flickering fluorescent light. She held a sleek digital camera in her hands. She wore a black sweater, jeans, and a small scar on her left cheek. The camera screen blinked, showing a live view of the lobby. "Michael, let's take a picture." Her tone was too casual, too polished, like we were at a family gathering. My mind spun as I saw the lens pointed directly at us. My cousins clutched each other's hands, eyes wide. I felt cold sweat gather at the back of my neck. Part of me whispered not to make things worse. Another part of me screamed to run. I forced a smile and agreed. I led her toward the glass wall separating the lobby from the courtyard. The camera clicked. The flash turned the gray tiles into white for a split second. In that instant, I saw her hand trembling and her eyes calculating. She nodded and said it was a nice one. She slipped the camera into a small black bag. She glanced toward the security desk, then paused. "Enjoy your night," she said it like a polite neighbor before leaving through the side door. I watched her retreat as the adrenaline drained from my body. What remained was a hollow dread that settled deep in my gut. She started waiting outside my apartment building every day, sometimes for hours at a time. I grew anxious whenever I came home, constantly checking my surroundings before stepping inside. Then one night after work, I found her standing directly in front of my door. She stepped back when she noticed me. "I miss you," she said. "I tried messaging you, but you ignored me." I stopped her. "Please stop," I said. "I do not want to give you false hope. There is no chance, none, that I will feel the same way. Love is not my priority. I am not ready for a relationship. And I need you to stop following me, respect my privacy." She reached for my hand, insisting I just needed to try. I looked her in the eyes and said it one last time. "You cannot expect anything from me. I do not feel that way about you. Please stop fixating on me." I moved past her and went inside. For a few days she disappeared. I finally felt like I could breathe again. Then one night as I unlocked my door, something hit me from behind. The world went dark. When I woke up, nothing felt right. My body felt heavy, restrained, and unresponsive. Panic set in as I realized I could not move freely. Bernice was there. She stood over me, her behavior frantic and unfamiliar. I tried to resist, but I was powerless. My voice would not come out, my strength was gone. What followed is something I still struggle to put into words. My boundaries were crossed. My sense of control was taken from me. What happened was not something I agreed to. It was not something I wanted. It shattered my understanding of safety in my own home. She whispered things I wish I could forget. She blamed me for rejecting her, for saying no. Then her voice changed. "You do not really know me," she said, trembling with emotion. "You made a mistake." Suddenly she began shouting, loud, uncontrollable cries filling the room and my thoughts. I lay there frozen. Fear consumed me completely. Moments later I noticed something in her hand. Before I could react, a sharp, overwhelming pain tore through me. She attacked without hesitation, without restraint. "Michael," she shouted, her voice unrecognizable. "If you will not stay with me, there is no reason for you to stay at all." I lost all sense of time. Pain spread through my body everywhere at once. My strength drained quickly. Breathing became difficult, as if the room itself were closing in on me. I took one last desperate breath. Before my vision faded, I saw Bernice screaming, then running out of the room. In that moment I prayed. I asked God to forgive me for every mistake I had ever made. I surrendered everything, fully believing that night would be my last. Then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't there anymore. I was walking alone through a vast darkness. It was silent, heavy, and cold. I didn't know where I was or what waited beyond it. I wondered if it was between life and death, or somewhere beyond it entirely. In the distance, I noticed a faint light. Small, steady, like a single candle burning in the dark. I tried to move toward it, but my body felt slow, as if something unseen was holding me back. Then shapes began to form within the glow. At first, fear took hold of me, but as they drew closer, I recognized them. My grandparents, my late father, my brother, my cousins who had passed away years ago. They were lost in a motorcycle accident. Great uncles, great aunts, faces both familiar and distant. Every one of them had already crossed over. They were calling to me, inviting me to come with them. But I refused. I begged them to send me back, to let me live. I prayed with everything I had left, asking God for one more chance. And somehow, He answered. The light grew brighter. The figures slowly began to fade. Warmth returned to my body. Suddenly, I woke up. Bright light filled my vision. Machines beeped steadily around me. My body felt heavy and broken. But I was breathing. I was in a hospital. My cousins and brothers were there beside me. Their eyes were red with exhaustion and relief. I was alive. Later, one cousin told me what happened. Neighbors saw Bernice running through the hallway. They called for help immediately. She was stopped and taken into custody. Because my door was open, someone went inside. They found me unconscious on the floor. Emergency responders arrived and rushed me out. The doctors told my family something chilling. I should not have survived. But I did. It felt like a miracle. Or maybe it just wasn't my time. I thanked God for another chance at life. For months passed before I fully recovered. Bernice was committed to a mental health facility. She was considered unstable and dangerous. She was no longer who we once knew. Despite everything, I felt no hatred, only sadness. I forgave her, and I prayed she would find peace. When I was strong enough, I started over. I left my job and chose a new path. Over time, my career quietly flourished. And slowly, so did I. I survived, and I chose to live. The scars never fully disappeared. Some faded, others surface at night. When the world is quiet, and the mind remembers. From the outside, my life looks ordinary now. But some stories don't end with safety. They stay with you. They wait. They whisper in the dark. I share this not to frighten you, but because these moments happen often. Sometimes fear doesn't come from darkness. It comes from people we trusted, from places we felt safe. If you're listening late at night, maybe this story found you for a reason. Trust your instincts. Protect your boundaries. Never ignore that quiet warning inside, because some encounters change you forever, and some stories don't end when the telling stops.
If this story followed you into the dark, there are more waiting. Subscribe to the Midnight Hour and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that finds its way back after midnight. Some stories wait for midnight.